Yes! Almost the end of the year. I thought what I might do is just get a couple of things, bit of housekeeping, get a couple of things that are on my mind off my chest and allow me to stop ruminating about them. Huh? Yeah, that's the thought. That's my thought for the day. I just looked up here. As clear as the sky could be. There, curiously misty. And that's why I did that. Look, you know, like, what's going on? So just with these little, I don't know, steam engines, I think they are. With them in the background, I thought I'd just pause temporarily, even though I've just gotten started and I'm 0.6 of a kilometre into my ride. I thought I'd start and explain what's on my mind. Okay, just quickly. It's not going to be a long one, but I will explain a few things, okay? And I'm even going to put the camera down and hold it still. 1 second. So, what's on your mind, Rob? Well, let me tell you. Whinging. I don't like doing it. Sometimes I do. And if you've been watching my YouTube channel these last few, well, particularly in 2022, you may have come to understand that I'm generally a positive and upbeat kind of bike rider. And certainly when I go for a bike ride, I get more positive and upbeat. Like, I get happier. It makes me feel good. And that's one of the reasons I do it. It's also my job. It's something I've been doing for over 30 years, talking about cycling. And then during the course of my commentary during 2022 and even earlier than that, there are these sporadic little binges of negativity. Little surges, let's say, not binges, like little surges of negativity. And someone once said to me, actually it was Brad McGee, he said, "Rob, why do you sometimes get real negative?" And I said, well, I don't choose to. It just happens that way. Because I think that sometimes certain topics need discussing. And I actually realised this morning, or not this morning, in the last few days, I'm clipping in, I realised these last few days that when I've been considering my negativity, anyway, these last few days while I've been considering my negativity, that the only things that I'm really whingy about, as in when I'm really adamantly like disturbed by the shenanigans that I'm discussing, is when it relates to taxpayer revenue being utilised in a frivolous way, which is to say wasting taxpayer money. And there's a few central themes to that. One is my nemesis, Oz Cycling. It's anyone who watches my channel understands that I think that they're incompetent. Number two, that developed in 2022, World Championships of Wollongong. Strange. I was upbeat and I was very positive, but ultimately I'm very negative about that whole experience. Number three, another pet hate. I say this reluctantly, but it's true. SBS television and their coverage of the Tour de France in particular. And all of those themes of discussion have elicited negative commentary during the course of 2022. So as I approach the end of the year and I try and offload some of the things that are on my mind about that prompt me to ruminate and lie there wondering, why did I do that? I just wanted to say to you, the reason that I complain about those things is that, as I've said often, it's a waste. When I see public money, public resources being used in a less than efficient manner, I find that it's not too efficient, and I therefore am compelled to talk about it. With the Oz Cycling thing, it became quite personal because they actually really started to inhibit my trade, I would say. I've referenced that in some other long discussions with the camera and ultimately with my YouTube audience. And I don't really want to go on about it now, but if you have any questions about it, I will tell you my answers eventually, somehow, depending on how you present your questions. Attack pigeons. But I'm going to try and ignore that I would call it bullying nature of the Oz Cycling staff, where they refer to me as not very kind words. It's not very nice. And they do that because I'm not a sycophant. And for some reason, cycling media is often basically considered to be sycophant media. And if you dare express an opinion that is contrary to the party line, then you're labelled your name, insert swear word, surname. And I don't like it. And if Oz Cycling wasn't predominantly government funded, if it was like another sporting entity, let's say the AFL, which, although it does receive significant government boosters, it funds itself with various sponsorships, gate takes, etc., things that makes the sporting world go around, broadcast rights, etc. Cycling doesn't have any of that. It has no gate. It has very little sponsorship, certainly in Australia. And its broadcasting rights, scant. Anyway, so in the end, what they're sort of beholden to is the government funding. And then they don't show that any respect. They just waste it by not considering what they're trying to achieve. And if you look at the Oz Cycling, the outline of the Oz Cycling's intentions and goals and hopes and desires as it turned from being Cycling Australia and became Oz Cycling a few years ago, there's a list of bullet point items, and pretty much none of them have been achieved. And yet they still receive government funding, and it's personal because they receive government funding to create their own little media empires and basically then do their best to denigrate the long-established Australian cycling media companies like Ride Media, and make the owners like me basically think, what's the point? Why am I reporting on this? Like, there was an Oz Cycling Awards night. It came, it went, and no one knew about it. But congratulations, Jai Hindley and all the other winners. But the thing is, Oz Cycling was doing its own media, so it got no reach. It got no reaction. It got no traction. It got no headlines. And then it just sort of went back to being this B or C grade sport in Australia at a time when it could be, because Jai Hindley won the Giro d'Italia in 2022. I mean, that's how that isn't being replayed at the end of the year in all of the, annual highlights reels that are part of, traditional media coverage of life is beyond me, because it's huge. And in the Australian sporting context, I don't think that there was much bigger done by an Australian athlete in 2022. He won the Giro in sensational style. And basically it's like, don't tell anyone, except this tiny little portion of like 12, 13, 14,000 followers on Facebook of Oz Cycling's Facebook channel. And you just, it's confounding. All they need to do is collaborate, cooperate, be helpful, be friendly with people like me who are interested in cycling, and they choose not to be. And not only do they choose not to be, then they choose to be patronising, denigrating, and ultimately upsetting to deal with. That's one of the reasons why I'm negative about that entity. As for the other elements, I've spoken about it. Don't think there's much more to say. SBS, there's a lot more to say, but I'm going to basically keep that bouncing around in my head for a while. Bit of pigeon action there, beyond the steam engines, so I'm going to get riding because I don't want to be, struck by those attack pigeons. time to ride. So I didn't know if any of that had come out, but we'll see how we go. Next,